So I just want to start, when you took over the program in 2002, the team had a record of 3-23, and now you're consistently a top 25 program. How did you convert the culture of your team and your program to adopt, a winning mentality?
A couple things. I think I've always been a coach that uses the buzzword process, but I really believe in process. So doing the right things and not being totally locked into outcomes. And to me, as an athlete and as a coach, that frees you up a little bit. So what we did is we really would focus on process and taking risks. And so in a small way, it would be like at end game, if a player tipped, they probably were going to get yelled at. If they had a perfect set and they made a low risk decision, they were going to get in trouble with us. And if they had a good set and they went for it, regardless of outcome, we were going to, cheer for that. So that allowed them to kind of go for it and know that there weren't going to be ramifications, especially from the staff. But I think the team also bought into that idea of let's go for it. Now there's, you don't want to be stupid, right? You have a bad set or you're trapped. You don't want to just throw it into the block. But if you get a good ball, we were going to reward that. And I know that sounds simple, but it really did kind of switch the mentality of like, hey, we're confident enough to go for this, and we're going to let the chips fall. And it's still kind of our philosophy now. We're a pretty high risk program. When you get a good ball, we're going to go for it. And, it's paid dividends, because I think at the highest level of volleyball, not that we're the highest level, but pretty high level at the D1 level. If you give the other team that opportunity, they're going to throw it down your throat. So if we get that ball, we got to seize it. So we talk a lot about that.
Opposite side of the spectrum, if you have a player that's in a rut or experiencing a crisis of confidence, what are some strategies that you use to help get that player out of that funk?
I think our biggest job as coaches is to make kids believe how great they can be. I really believe confidence is key to everything. And so, it starts on so many different levels. How we talk to them, every word that we say as coaches is impactful. And so you can't make a mistake. And I'm not saying we don't make these mistakes, because it's amazing. As an athlete, you can remember when your coach talked to you that one day and said such and such. I'm amazed when I talk to alums, they'll remember maybe a comment that was made. And it is really, really telling of how our words are impactful. So I'd start with that, of everything that we're saying is being heard, and we need to, be careful with the words that we choose. So if I see a kid that's struggling, first thing I'm going to do is talk to him. And I'm not going to attack him. I'm going to see, maybe there's something else going on. Oh, I failed a test today, I'm struggling. Okay, well, let's come back tomorrow. Or, there may be something in their lives going, my parents are struggling, it might be bigger things. So the first thing is I'm going to try to reach out and see what's going on. The second thing I'm going to do is try not to make a big deal. So like if it's a match or if it's a practice, I think the first approach for me is going to be, let's move on. We all have bad days. Go home, get a good meal, get some rest. Let's come back into the gym tomorrow. Or same thing, I remember I had a player this year that had a bad match, and I related it to another star player that we'd had a year or two prior, and just said, she played lousy here too, and then the next night she played great, so let's go do that tomorrow night. So if it's small stuff, I'm gonna try not to make a big deal out of it. If they're really struggling, I think I'm trying to give them tactical things to do. So first of all, the first thing they can always control is their demeanor. So if I can tell they're down, I'm going to challenge them to make sure their teammates can't, and that we don't know they're down. So they need to make sure they're holding themselves confidence. I am a believer that you can fake it, and your mind will follow you faking things. So fake it till you make it is sometimes a mantra in our gym. So displaying that confidence, I think, is important. If they, are still struggling at that point, we'll talk about tactical things. Let's focus on these two things. Let's make sure your step close is really explosive. Don't worry about the rest of anything that's going on. Or let's just work on hitting high hands in this, this scenario, or whatever it is, to try to take some pressure off. Other things we've done with some kids is on the bench, we've made a highlight clip on an iPad that just sits on the end of the bench. So at a timeout, or maybe if they sub out, they can just watch a 20-second video of them looking awesome. I think there's not a perfect, perfect thing for each kid. If you can spin stats in a positive way, trying to give them data of why they're actually better than they think, or, maybe their passing's been great. So you can say, hey, so-and-so, I know you're struggling in the front row, but I am so proud of what you're doing from a passing standpoint, or you're blocking. You are helping the team because you're blocking. So let's lock into that and feel good about that. So each kid's different, and some you have success with and some you don't. The benefit of being a college coach is we get to pick the players. And so I believe every kid on my team has the ability to be great. And it's my job to make them know how great I think they can be.